What's up, YouTube? So if you're watching this video right now, I hope that you've already seen the previous episode about how excited I was about the first morning after I'd slept in the van for the first time, and then how stoked I was to sleep in the van again, like on the third night. I was munching on my pizza and I was really excited. This video, again, if you're watching this, I hope you have already seen that, because a couple days have gone by and I've not exactly vlogged and recorded everything I'm about to go over right now, and this might be a bit of a longer video, but there's a subject matter to discuss that I think was prompted. I can't believe I was so sketched out the other night. The timeline's crazy, so just briefly, the night in the previous video that I was munching on that pizza, and I was like, man, I'm so stoked about this. Like, the van feels lived in. I'm starting to get like a routine, and I'm, covering up the windows and kind of little by little figuring it out. So I was really excited about it. And that same night, let's just say something happened. The next morning, I was not so excited about van life all of a sudden. Basically what happened, I sleep pretty easily, and it only took me really one night to get accustomed to the sounds of the driveway in which I was sleeping in. And that night, literally, I made the video, I put it down, put my phone to charge, my setup was already ready, and I'm in bed, and I'm like 5 minutes into falling asleep, and I hear these voices. Now, in Dallas, there's this thing, which is where I am if you didn't know. In Dallas, there's this thing with the neighborhoods where there's like alleyways that split the back of houses, and people will take those to get to their driveways. That's a completely new concept to me, because from where I'm from in El Paso, everybody's got their own driveway and everybody's got their attached garage to the house. And that's what I grew up with, and that's what I'm used to. So when I came here and rented a house that had a driveway behind the house, and I'm like, wait, everybody takes this? They kind of sketched me out a little bit, but I lived in the house for a year that had that. Anyways, the driveway I was staying at was right next to one of those, and I was parked with my, passenger doors, which, by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned at this point, my window is broken. This weekend has been nuts. I got the van back from the mechanic, been sleeping in it, just got it back again today. There was a gas leak. This is a van that has 2 tanks because it's a behemoth of a van. And somehow the lines, there's a return and a send, and the return was sending oil back to the tank, to the front tank, not the rear tank, which is the one I utilize, because the front tank has like holes in the bottom of it. So the previous owner, the church, they had like written down on the switch on the inside, use the rear only, and they like put a little screw in the back door. And when I got the van from the mechanic, it was running great, but I was going through gas like crazy. But anyways, that's beside the point. My door with my exposed, broken, taped up window was parked next to a tree up against that alley, and I heard voices, and I was like, oh crap, there's some kids like just cutting through the neighborhood and whatnot. And I'm getting a little toasty in here. I just was like, man, there's some kids, and I'm just gonna kind of look and see, make sure they don't like try to mess around, and keep walking, right, just mind their own business. And to my surprise, it's this like lady, and she's probably, unless she's like really drugged up and just looks old, she's probably like in her 40s maybe, like an older lady, but she was short, and she was like carrying something in her arm like this, and I couldn't tell what it was, and it was kind of cold at this point. She's just wearing a sweater, and she was like talking to herself, and she out of nowhere was like, look at that van. And when she said that, she was in front of the van in the driveway, but I had covered up the windshield so that I can have some privacy. So all I heard was the voice, and I'm like, oh my god, what? And she's like, I'm so impressed with this van, this van, oh my god, look at this van. And then I see her through the driver door window, and she literally goes up to the handle and tries to press the button and yanks on it so hard that the whole van kind of shakes, because the suspension's old school and it's kind of a bouncy van. And I'm like, my heart's pounding, and I didn't have my glasses on at this point, by the way. I like was just looking at her, and I'm like staring to see what's happening. And she, I turn around, grab my glasses, put them on, grab a flashlight, and I turn around, I'm like, hey! And she's already walking away, and my heart's beating. I'm like, what, am I gonna have to like push this lady away and tail her off or what? And literally that's all that happened. But I mean, at this point I'm freaked out, because I was like, this lady literally just saw a van that she thought looked cool and tried to get into it, and I'm freaking out. And she's like, I'm listening to her, and at this point I crawled into the driver's seat, and I'm like kind of trying to watch her through the window, and she's like meandering and walking in circles and yelling to who knows what, but to herself. She's by herself. And I saw her cross the street when there was cars crossing, and I was like, oh my God, this lady's gonna get herself killed. But I'm like, she's either mentally ill or on some kind of drugs, because she literally just thought, look at this van, and I'm gonna try to open it. What if she would have gotten in? Like, what did she expect, to drive away? And I'm freaking out, and because I'm like, what am I about to do to this lady? And then she's gone. I can't hear her anymore, and she was pretty loud, but then I'm like, I've never seen her walk through here, but what if she lives on the other side and she has to cut back? What if she's going somewhere and she doesn't come back by herself? What if she comes back with another crazy person who has a screwdriver on them, and they're like, yeah, that is a cool van, let's steal it, and they like break in, and then, you know, he's got a screwdriver, but I don't know that, and all I have is my phone and a flashlight. And I'm like, all these things are going through my mind, and I'm like, what if I have to hurt them? What if they hurt me? What if they have a gun? It's not worth the van, but they take my van, they take all my stuff. And I'm like, dude, I was so unsettled. This was Sunday night into Monday evening, I still felt uncomfortable, until luckily I had a conversation with some people about where I can park it, and they're like, we got dogs in the back, and they bark at people like all the time, so if anybody comes up to your van, like, they're gonna bark. And so I felt a lot better. And anyways, oh man, it just freaked me out. My mind freaked me out more than anything, because I was like, dude, all these like scenarios of what could happen, what couldn't happen, what could happen to me, what could happen to them, what could happen if this or that, you know. So then it's like, well, what do I need to do to be safe? And then I was like, well, what is safety, man? Because I was like, man, curtains priority. But I'm like, well, what is safety, you know? Like, if I didn't see her because the curtains are there and she didn't see me, that could be more dangerous. What if she didn't see me because the curtains is like, oh, it's gotta be empty, and she tries to get in? Or what if she didn't get in, but I thought I was safe because I never saw anybody, I never heard anybody. So if it's like I never heard her and I never saw her, that doesn't mean the danger isn't right outside the van. And I suddenly felt like very exposed and vulnerable and like invaded by her. Hopefully not again, but I was like, oh my God, I thought this little driveway was like a safe place to be, and all of a sudden it's no longer safe. And so Monday I was all unsettled because I didn't know what I was gonna do at night, trying to think of all these places I could park. But then, you know, I have a place to park, and it's next to a house, so my neighbors, if you will, their dogs are kind of watching over me, and I'm like, man, oh my God, like it makes sense now that homeless people would be willing to starve and feed a dog. I mean, a dog's gonna keep them safe. It's gonna keep people from sneaking up on them and taking their blanket or whatever, I don't know. And it just made me think a lot about like safety, and like, what is safety? What is being safe, and what's the illusion of safety? Like, cameras are good and all, but they only provide kind of like the illusion of safety or a backup in case of an incident. Because if somebody breaks in and you catch them on camera, you catch them after the fact, but the truth of the situation there is that they still got in, you know? So it's like, what is truly being safe? Because then there's the whole gun conversation. We are in Texas, and I have every right to go buy a gun, but it's like, if I ever had to get to the point to use it, or, you know, somebody breaks in thinking there's no one in the van, that's one thing. I could run them off with the sound of a gun, because more than likely 95% of people are going to take off. But what about the 5%? But then there's also like, what if somebody sees me and they still know there's someone in the van and they still try to get in? I'm at a disadvantage because I'm dealing with a very different kind of mindset now. And anyways, I'm wrapping it up here because I could go on, man. This conversation is crazy, but if anybody has any ideas for how I could potentially be safer, because if I had a gun, I don't want to use it, but if I had to, I would. But then there's repercussions and ramifications and consequences of me having used a weapon. And then there's, you know, potential damage to the van, potential damage to me. There's pepper spray, which is a much safer way, but then I'm like, it's such an enclosed space, I could be just as screwed, because if I spray them in the van, I'm gonna be all sprayed out too. And then, you know, obviously a knife or some kind of sharp object is just as sketchy as like a weapon, a gun, because if I have to hurt somebody, we're talking about something else entirely. But if I just have like a blunt object that's still like hurting somebody, it's like, ultimately, I'm not gonna lie, this whole safety thing. A few people did ask me, is that safe? What are you gonna park it? I never thought this would really be a big deal, but now that I've experienced it, I'm like, bro, anybody out there considering the whole van life, like, you need to legitimately consider like parking and just your situation, your setup at night. Like, it's more critical than I expected. My buddy gave me a hard time because the van's way unfinished, but I'm like, oh, I can sleep in it, man. The bed's in there. Like, I've got the gear to sleep in cold weather. Like, I'm not worried about it. And now I'm like, I don't know. There's a lot more to it, you know? Anyways, yeah, comment below if you got any ideas. Like, subscribe, and share. But it was crazy. I was pretty freaked out. Like, it was just like, I don't know, I'd never experienced anything like that before. I'm also curious if anybody knows of any other videos of other van dwellers who talk about like safety and places to look for in parking. Because I know there's this one guy, shout out to, I think it's Mystery 13 or something like that. He dwells in a van, and he's talked about personally feeling more comfortable in parking lots more so than like wooded, like forest areas, because he's got this, you know, personal irrational fear of like bears, but at the same time, like, the stillness and the quietness is a little too much for him. He'd rather be in a parking lot. But his van's a lot more inconspicuous than mine, which is another thing. Like, did I make the right choice in buying this like really rad-ass 89 van? Like, it draws kind of a lot of attention. So, you know, if I'd have been in a random like worker van, like, nobody's gonna be like, oh, that thing is sick, like, let's check it out, or whatever. Like, people see this and they're like, dang, that thing is cool. Like, people get nostalgic or remember it, or like, man, let's mess with it. But anyways, like, oh man, this is so crazy. And so I've slept 2 nights in the van since. I didn't take a break from it, which I'm glad I didn't, because there was a mental hump that I definitely needed to get over, and I've gotten over it, and I've got a new spot, and I honestly don't know if I can sleep in that driveway again, because that lady freaked me out, man. Like, I don't know. But anyways, that's it for today. I'll catch you on the next video. Let me know what you think. Comment and subscribe.